Thanks very much. Not long ago, I got hit with a really big lucky stick. I've been crazy lucky all my life. I was born lucky to a very normal family. Of course, in the 50s and 60s, normal meant alcoholism, prescription drug addiction, and divorce, but I was loved and I was encouraged. I was lucky to be healthy because my sister has all her life had crippling, horrible arthritis and has had 30-plus operations. And my brother was paralyzed in a trampoline accident when we were teenagers. I was lucky at a very young age that Judy Collins, the folk singer, was my babysitter and instilled in me a real passion for music. And then I was lucky when I was in high school that passion got recognized by Chris Christopherson, who tried to get me a record deal. It never panned out, which is not surprising if you ever heard the tapes, which you won't because I think I burned them all. But undeterred and convinced that I was going to be the next Bob Dylan, I ran away from home and I hitchhiked to Nashville, where I spent the next few years as Christopherson put up with me and put me up. In 1976, I was lucky enough to be invited out to the Kerrville Folk Festival, and I moved to Austin shortly thereafter and kicked around the Southwest playing music for a few years. Now, the problem with being an artist is that you have to have some degree of confidence to put yourself out there, right? The problem is there's no real objective way if you're an artist to know if you're really any good. And I always wish there was like a you suck, you don't machine. You know, you could just plug in your tape and it'd say, okay, you're okay or you're not, go home. But I was lucky enough that I did recognize the limits of my musical abilities. Because plotting the course of my trajectory, I realized that at the rate that I was going to end up as the front act when I was 50 years old at the Pflugerville Holiday Inn. So I switched gears. I got some higher education here at the University of Texas. I married my passion for writing to journalism and politics. And then I was lucky I got hired to work in Lloyd Doggett's 1984 campaign for the U.S. Senate. We had an exciting primary and then got crushed in the general election, if you all around remember that. But I discovered in politics you can fail upwards. And the next thing I knew, I was working for the governor of Texas, Mark White. Then I went and worked for and helped elect a governor in Louisiana because I'd heard if you think you know anything about politics, go to Louisiana and get your PhD. So I did. And then I went to New York where I worked with one of the great godfathers of political media, and I got to work all over the country and all over the world doing foreign campaigns. And then I was really lucky to come back to Austin and help put together and start a company, get off the ground, called Public Strategies. And then over the next 20 years, I was lucky to work with amazing companies, amazing causes, and amazing characters like Ann Richards, Good Time Charlie Wilson, George Bush, John McCain, Bono, and Lance Armstrong. But then one day my luck ran short. I learned that my wife Annie had a deadly form of cancer from which she was very unlikely to survive. Now you have to know this about Annie. She is perfect. And I mean perfect. She's hands down the most thoughtful, caring, wonderful woman on the planet. That's her right there. And if you're lucky enough to get to know her, you'll agree. I fell in love with her at first sight. She was walking down the stairs of East High School in Denver in horizontally striped bell-bottoms. I didn't have my driver's license yet, so she had to drive on our dates. I knew instantly that I wanted to marry her, and 10 years later I did. Over the years, we had our ups and downs, as all marriages do, but I was often neglectful and ignored our relationship. In short, I took Annie for granted. But then suddenly, she was going to be taken from me. And all the lucky things I'd gotten to do over the years, all the amazing people that I'd gotten to meet, didn't mean a damn thing. Instantly, I was filled with regret for all the days I'd wasted not loving Annie more and not loving her better. And I could see the pain and the fear in our young daughter's eyes as they were looking at the prospect of losing their mother and also thinking, who's going to do like everything? But Annie had massive attitude, and damned if she was going to let those girls be raised by me. When told she was in a 15% survival category, she stuck her chin up and she said, "Well, I feel sorry for those other 85%. And despite radical radiation, aggressive chemo, and surgery that took out basically all non-essential organs, Annie beat the terrible odds, and we learned that she was Lance Armstrong in a skirt. And suddenly my lucky streak was alive, and Annie and I fell in love all over again. We refer to the gift of cancer. Doug Allman talked about this earlier. It made us grateful for every damn day that we have together. Roger Ailes is a bigger-than-life character who helped elect a bunch of presidents, and he's the head of Fox News. One day at LaGuardia Airport, he was stuck there, and he had, at a very advanced age, had a child. He was like 65 when he had his first child. And he was bemoaning the fact that he was stuck at LaGuardia and not with his child. And then he sort of started thinking about it. He said, you know, if I'm lucky, I think I'm going to live, and he said, like X number of days. And I don't want to spend another single day in LaGuardia and not with my kid. And that got me to thinking about how long I might be around if I'm lucky. And how many days I'll have left to spend with Annie. And because of her genetics and ability to kick cancer in the shin, she's surely going to outlive me. So I looked at my family history, my general health, and determined on average that if I'm lucky, I'm going to live 8,186 days more. And I wanted to be sure that I didn't waste a single one of those days, and that I remembered to be thankful for Annie every one of those days. So I went out and I bought 8,136 beads, and I put them in this jar of life. And every day I look at this jar and I think, that's all you got, pal. Make the best of them. Make every one of them count. And so every day I take out a single bead and I put it in this jar that was initially empty. And someday, if I'm lucky, this will be empty, this will be full, and I'll start putting them back in here, and those will be my lucky extra days. But every day when I take out that bead, I stop for a minute and I close my eyes and I just say a prayer of thanks. I say thanks for my health, thanks for my friends, thanks for my 2 incredible daughters, thanks for a job, thanks for a lucky, lucky life, and thanks most of all for Annie. Because when I look at this jar and I look at this amazing woman, I know that I'm so damn lucky to have been blessed with another day and another chance to prove my love to her and to let her know she's the best thing that ever happened to me and that I'm not a total dick. And if I'm lucky, which I'm feeling pretty good about now, someday Annie's going to be driving me around on a date again because I'll be so damn old and infirm that my driver's license will have been taken away. Before I could drive, till I can't drive anymore, one hell of a ride with my pal Annie. Regret is an awful thing to have to carry around in your life. You can't really fix regret. So take the bead that we've passed around to you today and say your own prayer of thanks for the love that you share. And find your own version of beads in your life and make a regular habit to recognize how damn lucky you are every day to get to hang around this amazing thing we call life with the people you love. We've seen a lot of big ideas today, a lot of big talent, and unquestionably, a lot of these people we saw today are going to have a huge impact on society. They're changing lives, they're saving lives. But nothing really has greater impact in our lives and our happiness than who we love and how we love them. So, in conclusion, I'd just say, play big, but don't forget to love even bigger. Thanks.